Welcome to Arcane Odyssey, a game made by Vtext. A game where you can play as many as 11 classes throughout the journey. Whether you are a mage, warrior, berserker, or even the new unreleased class that is coming for full release. Or you're some kind of a hybrid class like Conjurer or Savant. This game has a lot of in store that you can try with many combinations of magics and stuff. In this video, I will be covering my opinion, my review of the game before full release. So, you begin on the menu of Arcane Odyssey. Arcane Odyssey's menu leads to 3 files, meaning you can play 3 files before you have to purchase a new slot for 200 or 300 Robux and such. This already does give an indication that there is at least 3 classes. And when you select and create, you'll be led to the avatar editor. Here you can do whatever you want, change color, change hairs, eye color. You'll understand it easily. And of course, this is a tip for those who want to change their appearance after making it, to go to a tailor, which you can find on multiple islands. Anyway, this is the magic selection menu, where you select your magic and begin your adventure. Obviously, this is where I will just say it's up to you, the player, to select your magic. You can also name yourself whatever the hell you want, so just randomize and jump into the game. Arcane Odyssey's gameplay in general is pretty much could be considered a bandit beater by some, but I would love to disagree with that, because in general, while yes, you do beat up NPCs, you don't beat up NPCs to level up all the time. There's many ways to level up, and it gives a lot of variety in how you approach the game. Obviously, you still need to play the story, as it is important, and it unlocks some post-game content such as awakenings and such. So yeah, in general, I'm just gonna say that the gameplay itself is pretty much alright, and it generally has only improved ever since the release of Early Access up until Empires. But of course, there's still a lot more improvements, like EXP amount increases for most of the story during the second half of the game, up until the Awakening, could be buffed. All the Nimbus EXP could also be buffed, and in general, the gameplay itself, when it comes to only the story, is just, like, you just learn about some problems, you solve those problems later, you beat up a boss, and you just repeat in general, or you just fight NPCs. In general, the story is pretty much, when it comes to the gameplay perspective, instead of the lore perspective, it's pretty boring, but from the lore perspective, it's pretty good, in my opinion, and in general, that's just what it is. Now, when it comes to grinding, as I said, the grinding methods are elaborately, a lot, and they're pretty good. And in general, if you don't want to stick to the story all the time and you want to do something else, you can just do it. It doesn't really matter as much. But if you want something that's story locked, you have to do the story. In general, I feel like the gameplay of Arcane Odyssey is pretty much alright, and that's all I have to say. Well, I did talk about the gameplay a bit. I didn't go straight forward into the content, and I'm gonna tell you, there's plenty of content in this game, despite it being so underrated and less popular than the usual games. The first content we're going to talk about is going to be the Dark Sea itself. Welcome to the Dark Sea, an area in Arcane Odyssey which is considered extremely dangerous for numerous reasons, but at the same time, there is ways to cheese it. Obviously, as you know, during its time of Early Access, there was a way to cheese later insanities with invisible potions, but that's not the case anymore. And yeah, the Dark Sea on its own is a dangerous area which only players with decent experience would be going into, or players that follow guides, aka guide videos on how to do things, and so on and so onward. Enemies. Yeah, one of the content in the Dark Sea is the enemy NPC, but I will not go much into over them, but just say that the Atlanteans and their, well, subcategory or subspecies pretty fine, but the Sirens are in a heavy need of optimization and balancing because, oh my god, they fly around so much, it's annoying. Like, seriously, who the hell would even want to fight the Sirens for like 3 chests in Insanity 1, or going later in Insanities to fight multiple of them for barely any loot he takes? Multiple islands to visit, with multiple generations and multiple combinations possible. Actually, there isn't that many islands, honestly, but I'm just gonna say there's a lot of islands you can travel to, and the Dark Sea always offers random generated island with random generated structure and random generated amount of loot. Obviously, with that loot, it includes the sealed chest, the Dark Sealed chest. It's a variant of the regular bronze sealed chest and a Nimbus sealed chest with much darker tone, and it only appears in the Dark Sea. Hence why it's called the Dark Sealed chest. It follows the same kind of trend as the Nimbus and Bronze Sealed chest, where it's named at, and it offers powerful loot such as armor, enchanted scrolls, or ship parts, and some gallons, of course, and gems. And obviously, I'm just gonna say I want to talk about the enchantment scrolls in another section, which is separate from the content section. But either way, the Dark Sea's content is very fast and very random, offering some kind of replayability every time you go loot in the Dark Sea. And that's what I'm majorly gonna keep my opinion at. Now, let's move to the client content. It's actually because of the recent Empires update, client content has been so much better, in my opinion. But at the same time, client content has brought Flamdom, a new treasury system. Arcane Odyssey's client content, as you see, is pretty much expanded on. And in general, I'm going to be talking about infamy gaining and stuff because that in general is for you to find out. I would just say that infamy gaining could be better for islands, because AFK islands without Shield Guard or Silverhold are pretty weak and too grindy when it comes to infamy. And clan building on its own needs some improvement, but otherwise, in general, the client content is pretty good. The game on its own also has story. Yes, that's right. Lore, story, important majority. But I won't talk much into it because, in general, I feel like the story is pretty much, can be interpreted in many ways, can be talked about in many ways, everyone has a different opinion. But in general, in my opinion, the story is like, alright at the moment. So things have been becoming a little bit more interesting with the Nimbus story, and I want to see how it goes. The marketplace in Arcane Odyssey is one of the many few places where you can get a ton of items in exchange for gallons without any extra stuff. And those extra stuff include trading your items or seasonals and stuff, and you could just buy it with gallons in the marketplace. Obviously, that benefits you and the buyer. It's a win-win kind of situation when it comes to it. In general, in a marketplace, you can sell many items, you can buy many items, obviously. You can make abundance of gallons, you can buy a ton of items, you know? In general, it's a marketplace. It's basically the general market of the Arcane Odyssey community, where they sell and buy items of all kinds, whether they are pure trash or just the most valuable item in the game. But yeah, the marketplace in general is a pretty much one of the features in the Empires update that had to be disabled and enabled a lot of times because of some bug fixes or hackers or some other stuff. And in general, I feel like this feature right now as it is, it's pretty good, but it could use some improvements, such as fixing the filters, because the filters in the marketplace for some reason don't work. And yeah, that's pretty much kind of about it, really. The marketplace is a pretty good feature, and it serves its purpose, as it should, as one of the few less buggy features that was added during the Arcane Odyssey Early Access updates list. The last thing to cover is the underwater structures, which I'm just gonna say my opinion, it's just I generally don't find them reliable or useful in any way, in my opinion, unless you're looking for drowned modifier. That's really about it. Where do we have to go now? Well, you guys know about Roblox events such as the Hunt, Mega Edition. First things first, the egg hunts are pretty much alright. It's just they are pretty grindy as they should be because it's an extra. But in general, I have nothing much to say about them. So, about the Halloween 2024 event, all I'm gonna say is it could have been a lot better and executed a lot better. In general, it's about the candy grind mainly and how long it took to get. Even after they buffed it, I feel like the candy grind lasted for so long that the only reason the event was going for so long is because no one was going to be completing it on day one. Well, except me and a lucky few, you know. In general, I feel like when it comes to day one event was like pure garbage, and it was too grindy, and it took too much time. But that's really kind of about it, really. It's just, I don't have a lot of favor in Halloween 2024, while it's an improvement from certain other games and such. I feel like they could have executed Halloween 2024 a lot better. Look at 2024, I have majorly talked about it in another video of mine, which is going to be linked in the description if you guys want to watch it. But it looks like 2024 wasn't so bad, honestly. That's all I'm really going to say. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you guys want more detail, go watch my video down below. So, Arcane Odyssey's exotic enchants have been something that has otherwise just been a direct upgrade, usually, most of the time. However, when it comes to certain specific enchants I have a nitpick for, I would just say powerful and explosive don't have any drawbacks, nor does brisk, which really disappoints me, because they should have gotten some kind of drawback in exchange for all that speed, you know? Like minus power, minus size, and minus speed, etc, just like their counterparts from the weapon enchants. That's all I honestly have to say. The exotic enchants of armor feel really underwhelming in the balance scheme because they are extreme direct upgrade instead of being a risk-reward kind of thing where you sacrifice stats, you know? It really does kill the diversity, but that's really all I'm gonna say. Alright, with one class out of the way because it's not out, let's begin talking about the classes. So, the Mage class in Arcane Odyssey could be considered one of the more boring classes in the entire game. At least for me. Like, I never saw what's so fun about Mage. It's just spam magic and run, with like the only skill requirement being aim, which can be just completely removed if you use size. So like, yeah, I never saw the fun of Mage. Its synergies are kind of just there. Like, for me, synergies are just something alright in general. And I'm just gonna say it that Mage is probably one of the more boring classes for me, and I don't really enjoy it. Now that we got away from the most boring class in the game, let's talk about Berserker. Berserker is pretty much straightforward. Just like Mage, it does have its limitations, and it has way less synergies than Mage as of the time of Early Access. However, its close combat aggressive plays makes this class really much more fun. And in general, my favorite fighting styles are actually Turbo Fist and Sailor Fist, when both are used with attack speed, obviously. Like, otherwise, if I use them with size, they feel pretty bland and boring. And if I use too much power, you know how it is. But in general, Berserker is really fun with attack speed, and I have really enjoyed my experience with it. I do wish to go back and make a video before full release Berserker comes out. Well, I'm just gonna keep it simple for Warrior. It's just, there is a lot to talk about Warrior. From its weapon variety to its choosing of what build to use exactly depending on your weapon combination and blah blah blah, the playstyle you have with weapons, and what weapons to use and what moves to change. Warrior has a lot of complexities underneath it if you actually start learning about it. And it's like an easy class to get into with the simple stuff, but it's really hard to like master. It's kind of like that class. And in general, that's really about it. For me, Warrior is my favorite class. I really enjoy it, but I do find it's more complicated than the other classes, despite it being a pure class. You know, that's really about it. To be honest, when it comes to the hybrid classes, I like experience with at least 2 out of the 3 hybrid classes that are like not vitality based. And I'm just gonna say that Warlord is actually gonna be the class I'm gonna talk about in this section of the classes video. And I'm just gonna say I had some fun with it, and I do really want to try it again. But in general, I'm kind of feeling more like trying a Warlord Savant, you know, than this. But that's really alright. In general, Warlord was a fun class, and that's really all I have to say about it. Well, a lot of people might say that this should be like less fun than Mage. This is actually just better than Mage, like 10 times more fun because it utilizes weapons and magic. It actually does pretty much better work with magic than magic did with itself, basically, you know? It's a really nice hybrid class, and I really like it. It really does add variety to the game, which, you know, like one of the pure classes, which, you know, Mage has been missing. That's really about it. It's a really fun class. This is the second hybrid class that I utilize magic better than the Mage class, which is Warlock, because in general, I just really like the whole idea of imbuement, and Warlock, I have more experience with Warlock than I do with Conjurer, and I'm just gonna say that Warlock is a really fun class, especially if you do something silly and not meta. But yeah, its combinations are really fun, and it's a really nice variety to the game, just like Conjurer and Warlock do. And I do really hope to see great improvement with them once their second awakenings come, or they get some major buffs. But that's really about it. Sadly, I'm not going to be covering the 3 Vitality classes that are currently in the game. I'm just going to say they are alright, but I still don't have enough experience with them. Alright, so to summarize Savant, Savant is basically just a jack of all trades, you know? Jack of all trades, master of none. You can do all the things with all the other classes with Savant, you know? And that's really about it. It's a fun class, it has a lot of combinations, way more than the other classes, and probably the most variety-based class, with, like, very limited amount of points you can put into skills, you know? It's a really tough class to play, it's a hard class to learn, it's a hard class to master, and in general I do wish more people played it. It's a really fun class, and it's pretty good. That's all I'm gonna say about it. So yeah, combat. Combat. One of the few things in Arcane Odyssey which I really am not a big fan of in general. While a lot of people seem to be enjoying the game, even I, we all know that combat is not our favorite thing in the game, or at least not my favorite thing. As you know, while I do PvP videos, I'm not some kind of a pro or something like that, but I have experience to say that the combat in this game is kinda like dumpster fire, or it's just alright, depending on who you ask, depending on how you approach the combat. The combat in this game is just pretty straightforward with beginner players. It's like not too hard, you know. That's just in general what I think about it. The combat is just dumpster fire for PvP, but it's pretty decent to actually grind for PvE. The community. I know the community usually should be excluded from videos like these, but I really felt like talking about the community for a bit. At least what I think about it. The community in Arcane Odyssey is just one of the many things that really kind of shaped this video in its entirety. Like, no, seriously. I have to have you guys for letting me in the Arcane Odyssey community in the first place. Enjoying or hating my content, in general, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm just gonna say the community is not the most positive, nor it's like the worst thing in the world. I mean, it's not the best community I've been into, honestly. It's not like it's a changing experience like the Undertale community or some of the other indie games or some other Roblox sub-community, but this community genuinely was a really interesting experience, and I did enjoy it. Even if all the bad moments kind of made me hate the game, or just hate the community in general, it's alright, really. It's just part of the experience, and that's all I need to understand to say that this community is actually pretty much not the most positive thing, but not the most negative either. I really like the community. This community has some creative ways to play the game, instead of just metamancing or clan wars in general, you know. That's really that, honestly. Arcane Odyssey's community is just really, really interesting, and I want to see how it goes after the full release. While I do want to talk about the story in more detail, it's just I'm not really as invested as everyone else is in the story. And while I do want to explain majorly why I didn't talk about the story like I said it's alright or that in the content section, it's because it is. In general, I just want everyone to have their own interpretation, as I said. This video isn't just for new players, it's also for players who play the game and have their own thoughts about it. But in general, when it comes to Warrior, for me, I have a lot of thoughts about Warrior because I played the class majorly a lot of the time. And about the other classes, I didn't go in full detail, it's because it's gonna take forever to cover it, and I just really want this video to be straightforward. But yeah, that's really about it. I actually do enjoy both PvP and PvE equally because I play both. Like, I don't just stick to one for a really long time period. Even though I play PvE more than PvP, I'm gonna admit that. In general, I enjoy both of them. Alright, so this is the final question really, and it is the title of the video. Was Arcane Odyssey worth experiencing? Well, I would just say yeah, in general actually. This game really is an underrated GOAT game. Even despite its flaws on release and some of its flaws during each update, this game really just felt amazing. Like, I really liked it. Despite all the flaws, despite all the suffering and my bad opinions or my bad thoughts about the game and the community, in general, this game was absolutely worth it. But of course, that's not everyone's opinion. If you guys have any thoughts, or you guys want to answer this question, was it worth it? Comment down below. I would like to hear your opinion out. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.